right now at 7.
What we're seeing now is a spike unlike anything we've seen since the beginning of this pandemic. We are in trouble.
The new warning tonight in San Francisco, tougher restrictions may be the only choice.
And why almost a quarter of one city agency could be wiped off the map.
We are facing the gutting of a basic city service that our residents rely on.
San Jose Mayor Sam Liccardo has admitted to and now apologized for violating health rules by attending a Thanksgiving family dinner with too many people.
It was a bit of a bad judgment call.
Do you think he's being a hypocrite?
Totally. I'm Dennis O'Donnell. Coming up, the Warriors' return to the court is delayed.
2 players have tested positive.
And Kyle Shanahan makes a promise to his football team.
I know Jed will help us out with that.
Right now in the KPIX 5 News at 7 and streaming on CBS and Bay Area, a live look at San Francisco. The purple tier curfew starting again in 3 hours, and it appears it's only a matter of time before even tougher orders are issued. Good evening, I'm Elizabeth Cook.
And I'm Ken Bastida. We have team coverage on today's big coronavirus developments, starting with KPIX 5's Andrea Borba and that warning from San Francisco's mayor. Andrea?
Well, Ken and Elizabeth, we're told today that if San Francisco continues on its current trajectory, it will be out of hospital beds by Christmas.
We literally have little time to spare.
Dire warnings tonight about the rising tide of coronavirus cases in San Francisco.
In the last 3 weeks, San Francisco's positive cases had tripled. And we do not expect this to stabilize anytime soon. We have more virus circulating than ever before.
The numbers have skyrocketed over the past month. In October, the city was averaging 34 new cases of COVID-19 a day. Today, that number has quadrupled and stands at 140. Even more troubling, hospitalizations have doubled in just 10 days, from 40 on November 18th to 87 on November 28th.
Our dangerous winter has arrived. The truth is, we are going to have to take more restrictive action. And it pains me to say that. While we are still working out the exact details, we are looking at examples like Santa Clara County.
Santa Clara County just ordered a 14-day quarantine of anyone who travels into the county from 150 miles away and banned any group gatherings. When asked, Mayor Breed said among new measures could be an end to the outdoor dining that has breathed life into failing San Francisco restaurants.
We can't rule it out. And as soon as we think it is absolutely necessary, based on what we're seeing with this spike, based on what we are seeing with hospitalizations and the direction that our city is headed in, it could be a possibility.
Now, we didn't get any specifics today on when exactly we expect to have any new restrictions placed, though we do believe it could be by the end of the week. Ken and Elizabeth.
All right, coming our way. Andrea Borba, thank you.
Also in San Francisco, the future of Muni is at stake. Drastic cuts could be coming as the agency tries to survive the pandemic. The mayor announced today the SFMTA will be facing a budget deficit of more than $230 million by the end of next year. With the lack of riders and revenue, it's not likely to rebound anytime soon. That means nearly a quarter of Muni riders could be laid off.
Closing this deficit may require laying off between 18 and 22% of MTA's workforce. We are facing the gutting of a basic city service that our residents rely on and that our economy needs to recover.
Well, I mean, it's kind of to be expected the way things are going. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, hopefully with the vaccine and stuff, it'll turn around at some point.
The agency was able to delay layoffs earlier this year with funding from the CARES Act. Mayor Breed says she is hopeful Congress will pass more emergency support.
Take you down to San Jose right now. A live picture. Mayor Sam Liccardo eating some of his own words today about Thanksgiving dinner. Kit Doe reports a day after tweeting a plea for people to cancel those big gatherings. The mayor attended one.
Mayor Sam Liccardo admitted to violating the state health order that limits private gatherings to only 3 households, and he issued a mea culpa today that went into detail about where this dinner was, who was there, the seating arrangements, and so on. And at the end of it, he said he was sorry. Mayor Liccardo said the Thanksgiving dinner was on the back outdoor patio of his parents' house. He said he was there with his wife, parent, and a sister-in-law. And later, a brother showed up but had dinner after everyone had already eaten. And another sister attended along with her son and daughter-in-law. According to the mayor's statement, that's 8 people from 5 different households. They sat around 3 socially distanced tables and wore masks when they weren't eating. Today, Mayor Liccardo wrote, "I apologize for my decision to gather contrary to state rules by attending this Thanksgiving meal with my family. I understand my obligation as a public official to provide exemplary compliance with the public health orders and certainly not to ignore them. I commit to do better."
It was a bit of a bad judgment call.
Dr. Charles Binkley is a surgeon and director of bioethics at Santa Clara University, and he's urging compassion.
And so there are 2 ways to see this. One is to say that, oh, we can never trust him again because he's done this thing. And the other way to say is, well, he's done something that had some wrongness to it. We've all done something that has some wrongness to it.
You forgive him?
Me? No.
Barber Vince De Leon says no one should be above the law.
If we're not abiding by the rules, do we just apologize and nothing happens? So I don't know. I would say he's being a total hypocrite.
And for what it's worth, the mayor said his very large Italian family, all his brothers and sisters, cousins, nieces and nephews, they all stayed home for the most part. In downtown San Jose, Kit Doe, KPIX 5.
Meanwhile, tonight, San Francisco Mayor London Breed is defending her dinner at the French Laundry last month. Her office described the gathering of 8 as a birthday party for a friend at an open-air table. It was the day after Governor Gavin Newsom attended a similar dinner there. At the time, both indoor and outdoor dining were allowed in Napa County, but it's unclear how many separate households were represented at Mayor Breed's table.
Take a live look at Chase Center tonight. Warriors training camp has been delayed after 2 players have tested positive for COVID-19. KPIX 5 Sports Director Dennis O'Donnell joins us now. Hi, we're working on Dennis right now. I'll tell you what. Next week, the Warriors can only hold individual workouts, and the first full practice originally scheduled for Sunday is now set for next Monday.
I'm confident that the league is going to do everything in their power to do things the right way and to protect us, to protect the players and the staffs. And then who the hell knows? I mean, it's 2020.
Boy, no truer words ever spoken. It's 2020. 49ers will leave Santa Clara tomorrow, and they don't know when they'll be coming back. San Francisco plans to spend the next 3 weeks in Glendale, Arizona. They will have to practice next door to State Farm Stadium and stay at the adjoining hotel if they can last together for 21 days.
Can't tell you how sick of each other we are after a week in a hotel. Usually that week's good and we play better, but then after that week, guys need to get home. So it's not, a week's not the daunting thing. It's the month of December that guys get a little overwhelmed with. So that's why I'm just trying to get guys to not think of it that way, even though the dates say that.
Stanford football had 1 remaining home game on its schedule. That will now be a road game at Oregon State on December 12th. The Cardinals practicing this week in Seattle. San Jose State will have their game this Saturday moved to Hawaii. Liz?
Up next, the post-Thanksgiving testing rush, but it's not just gatherings or travel that have people lining up.
These have very indistinguishable clinical features from COVID, so that will also bump up the testing demands.
Salesforce is buying in a buying mood. So what it just purchased, marking its biggest acquisition ever.
Then later, the Bay Area city that has bumped up its minimum wage twice during the pandemic, the impact on small business owners.
These 3 $1 an hour increases cost our business about $1,500 a day.
Lots of bright moonlight over downtown San Francisco and San Francisco Bay as well. Clear skies tonight, temperatures dropping off, but we are going to see some high clouds floating in. We'll talk about whether we have any clouds that are going to drop some raindrops on us anytime soon. That's coming up in the forecast.
But before we go, some responses on social media to San Jose Mayor Sam Liccardo not following gathering guidelines during Thanksgiving. Take a look.
Well, right now, a lot of people trying to get tested for the coronavirus, and Alameda County is trying to keep up. There are now 27 free testing sites across the county. Many of them have doubled their daily testing capacity. And officials say it's not just the post-Thanksgiving travel that's driving this demand. It's also flu season, and those symptoms could look very similar to COVID.
There are a lot of other infections as well. And these have very indistinguishable clinical features from COVID. So that will also bump up the testing demands. So the test, as soon as you get back, will pick up risks from more than 3 days ago. And then day 7 will be the best sort of like sweet spot.
And doctors recommend anyone 65 and older get tested immediately after travel or possible exposure. For the younger crowd, they're recommended to wait, as he said, about a week.
Let's take a live look outside, looking toward the bay from San Francisco. Just another beautiful, beautiful shot right there.
68 degrees at my house this afternoon when I left, Paul. This is not December.
No, that's about 10 degrees above average for inland parts of the East Bay. And temperatures have been above average across the board, and it's just more of the same in store as we head into the first couple weeks, at least, of the new month. In the short term, there's a storm system off the coast that's going to approach, but then it's just going to get rerouted by this big area of high pressure. It's in control of our weather, so some passing clouds in the forecast for tomorrow and again on Thursday. But in general, the same theme we've had for the past couple of weeks is going to continue indefinitely. Mild afternoon temperatures, some chilly overnight lows every once in a while, but the dry weather is going to continue. And the latest update for the month-long outlook from the Climate Prediction Center shows a significant chance of below-average precipitation for not just the Bay Area, not just California, but most of the western half of the country. And we always tend to focus just on our neck of the woods with those drought conditions, but the drought monitor is lit up across much of the western half of the United States, and we're all in the same boat. We really need some moisture, especially in the Bay Area, because December is the wettest month of the year. Now, January and February are right on its heels, around 4.5 inches of normal rainfall, but it looks like we're going to get through at least the first 10 days of December without any significant chance of rain. And to go along with the dry weather, we're also going to have above average temperatures, an equally significant chance of above average temperatures as we head through the next 31 days, according to the Climate Prediction Center. Right now, temperatures are beginning to cool off because the sun's been down for about 2.5 hours at this point. It's down to 48 degrees in Santa Rosa, still holding on to 55 degrees in San Jose. Temperatures are mostly in the low to mid 50s, and they'll drop down as we head through the rest of the night into the upper 30s to around 40 degrees for most inland parts of the Bay Area. Some valley locations dipping down into the lower half of the 30s with low to mid 40s around the bay. Temperatures will warm up nicely. Everybody's in for above average readings once again on Wednesday, up into the low 60s in San Francisco. Notice the icons, though. We are going to see a few clouds kind of floating through. It's going to be mid and high level clouds. No chance that those are going to drop any raindrops on us, but they are at least going to filter out the sunshine, give us a little natural shade every once in a while. It should be a pretty perspective overall. Looking at the same mix of clouds and sunshine for San Jose, with temperatures rising up to the mid 60s for highs most of the afternoon in the lower half of the 60s. Santa Rosa, one of the slightly warmer spots, but again, mid 60s with that mix of clouds and sun. And Concord, similar temperatures to today, maybe a degree or two cooler. Up to 67 today, I think about 65 for a high temperature tomorrow. Let's fill in the rest of the map. Temperatures along the coast reaching up to around 60 degrees. Otherwise, it's mostly low to mid 60s. The very warmest spots farther inland reaching up into the upper 60s, close to 70 degrees. And not much change to the 7-day forecast. That mix of clouds and sunshine every once in a while, but generally a lot of sun and a lot of above average temperatures all the way into the first couple of days of next week. We'll keep you updated. I'll have another update coming up at 11 o'clock, Liz.
All right, Paul, thanks. Well, here's a look at your top headlines. The president-elect announced key members of his economic team, and some are already receiving pushback from GOP senators. They include former Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen as Treasury Secretary, Wally Adeyemo as Deputy Treasury Secretary, Cecilia Rouse as the White House Council of Economic Advisors, and Neera Tanden as budget chief, who heads a left-leaning think tank. The Senate must confirm the nominees.
Our government is meant to serve all the American people, Republicans, Democrats, and independents alike.
If you want to make sure this nut job Tanden doesn't become the director of the budget, then make sure we win in Georgia.
Take a live look at Capitol Hill tonight. The top Senate Republican rejected a proposed $900 billion stimulus package. It promised to save certain benefits before they expire at the end of the year. Senator Mitch McConnell says he wants to pass a, quote, targeted relief bill instead.
We just don't have time to waste on. We have a couple of weeks left here. Obviously, it does require bipartisan support to get out of the Congress, but it requires a presidential signature.
The biggest impediment to getting an agreement is the Republican leader refusing to negotiate in a bipartisan way.
And a live look at the Salesforce Tower in San Francisco tonight. The company announced it is buying Slack in a nearly $28 billion mega deal. Slack has transformed from a fast-rising startup into a major competitor of Microsoft with more than 12 million daily active users. And Ken, the acquisition is by far the largest in the 21-year history of Salesforce.
All right. Thank you, Elizabeth. Still to come, one Bay Area elementary school gets a much-needed donation from a surprising source.
It just gives me a deep sense of gratitude for everything that they've done for us.
You can appreciate the disconnect between reality and their dreamland, okay?
And the one Bay Area city that has dished out 2 minimum wage hikes since the pandemic started. And then later, it was a big part of the original Silicon Valley boom, but now one computer giant is leaving town.
In Nevada, businesses will have to adapt to its second wage hike since the pandemic began. Starting January 1st, the minimum wage for small businesses will increase from $14 to $15. It comes after the city approved a series of wage hikes 2 years ago. And despite the economic disaster brought on by the pandemic, some business owners say a wage hike will likely cause a cutback on employee hours, while the city says it's keeping up with inflation.
When you have a city like Novato who's ratcheting up the cost of doing business in the middle of a pandemic on the heels of 2 months of wildfires, you can appreciate the disconnect between reality and their dreamland, okay?
Marin County is probably one of the more expensive counties to live in. And it's important for people to be able to work only one job instead of working 2 or 3 jobs in order to pay the rent.
Well, it is Giving Tuesday, the annual movement encouraging people to give to those in need. And tonight, a Kensington Girl Scout troop is taking part. They're in the middle of their book drive, collecting hundreds of books, some for Lincoln Elementary in Richmond and others which will be handed out to families, packaged up, even with some treats.
Came with candy canes and bouncy balls and other stuff.
This outside Girl Scout troop came to us and said, we want to provide for you all. It just gives me a deep sense of gratitude for everything that they've done for us.
For the girls, they don't have a lot of money to give with their little allowances, but given their time, and they've been doing this project now and putting it together for so many weeks, I'm really proud of them.
Coming up next, Silicon Valley Original is about to set up shop somewhere else. Bye, Bay Area. Hello, Texas. Computer giant Hewlett-Packard Enterprise is taking its corporate headquarters to the Lone Star State. The company says that it won't be laying off any employees, and it will keep its San Jose campus. Its new campus just outside of Houston is under construction, with a move expected sometime next spring.
Well, thank you for watching tonight at 7. The news continues streaming on CBSN Bay Area.
We'll be back here at 11 o'clock with more local news for you. Have a good night. Okay, thanks. 9 o'clock.
9:45.
Yeah.